about what is pressure. And in South Africa, pressure is not having a job. Pressure is one of your close relatives being murdered. In South Africa, there's a lot of problems, which is pressure. And we started talking about things like that. And rugby shouldn't be something that creates pressure on you. Rugby should be something that creates hope. So we started talking about things that we've got a privilege of giving people hope, not a burden of giving people hope. But hope is not talking about hope and saying you got hope and tweet a beautiful tweet and things like that. Hope is when you play well and people watch the game on a Saturday and they have a nice braai, well, barbecue for people who doesn't know braai is, and have a nice barbecue and watch the game and feel good afterwards. And you know, no matter of your political differences or religious differences or whatever, for those 80 minutes you agree with a lot of things that you normally disagree, and we just start believing in that.
Across the park they come, and losing it. Arms there, pops up for the toy. Here comes Cheslin Colby. Colby bounces towards the fence. Beats one, still going. Cheslin Colby. Cheslin Colby. South Africa, the World Cup is theirs.
The toy, only one thing to do, get into this man's hands, one-on-one, gets away far, one of the best defenders in the world, stands him up and he's over KT.
Well, Cheslin Colby, remember, has run it on one ankle, couldn't go last week in the semi-final, can go in the final. Cheslin Colby is top shelf.
Hi guys, how's it? Hope everyone is doing well. We get the return of international rugby this weekend. I am so excited to be going live for the Springbok Ireland game. I'm also going to do a bonus game for you guys. The USA has yet to qualify for next year's World Cup. They are in a pool looking for that final rep charge spot. They will begin their battle in Dubai versus Kenya, Sunday morning, 7 a.m. local start time. The Rugby Network, the official and exclusive carrier for those games, I will be going live for that. I'll leave a link for it whenever I do my pregame video. But man, November 2nd, 3 years ago, where were you? Where were you? Witnessing history. Third time lifting the Ellis Cup for the Springboks. I had to go back and kind of just look at, like, if it wasn't for Facebook, I saw, like, dude, I was so stoked. And kind of just go back and talk about that game, man. Let's talk about what we saw. You saw the clips leading into the video, the try, Coach Rassie Erasmus, and just another one of his just passion speeches about what struggle really meant for South Africans, not just for the team, but for South Africans in general. A guy that took the team from its darkest point to hoisting the cup. And I would be lying to you if I said I picked the Springboks to win it. I did not pick it from the get-go, and I know I was wrong. Obviously, I was proven wrong. I actually picked the All Blacks to three-peat. It was just, it seemed like over time as the tournament went on, the team just got stronger and stronger, and the message that Rassie was pushing to those guys, they were buying into it. So let's just kind of go back to that game, what led up to it, kind of just do a breakdown. I know it's stuff that you guys already know, but just to kind of talk about what led up to that fateful day 3 years ago. So obviously you get the big opening game. It was not the opening game was Japan and I believe Russia, and Japan beats Russia in the opening game. But the big game on the opening weekend was the All Blacks, the Springboks. We get a Kieran Reid and Aaron Smith led kind of a combo on the haka there. Unfortunately, the All Blacks do end up winning that game, and kind of like a bit of an odd pull round, obviously, with the cyclone, we call it hurricane here, canceling a lot of those original pull rounds games, but none for the Springboks. They end up beating the brakes off of Namibia, Canada, and Italy, getting bonus points in all those games. Just building momentum the whole time. England, on the other side, beats Argentina, they beat Tonga, they beat the United States, and they're really only real serious opponent in that pool was the French game that ended up getting called because of the cyclone. So you go into the knockout rounds for both teams. You get South Africa knocking out the tournament host Japan, showing them much respect, obviously being the host, making that jump at that point to a tier 1 nation, having beaten Ireland in their pool round and everything, and then beating Wales, beating the last time we would probably see Alan Wynne-Jones take the pitch for a Rugby World Cup. Who knows? He might do it again next year. We will see. England knocking the brakes off of beating the stuffing out of Australia, and then beating the ABs, which we got that famous image of Owen Farrell just with that smirk on his face during the haka, knowing that they were going to beat the All Blacks. That was their day. And I remember kind of seeing that and seeing Owen Farrell and being like, dude, you're about to get the crap beat out of you. They end up beating the All Blacks. So we go into the final, Yokohama Stadium, 70,000 plus fans, totally sold out, 32-12. We know the final score. Tries by Mpipi and Colby in the 66th and 74th minute. Pollard converts on both of those. He goes 6 of 8 on the penalties, having penalties at the 10th, 26th, 39th, 43rd, 46th, and 58th minute. All England is able to muster is some penalties by Farrell himself. He gets one at 23, 35, 52nd minute, and the 60th minute. And all the grime, all the hell that the Springboks had gone through leading up to that moment. And then just the general feeling of seeing, we give them hell as much as we can, but seeing a black man, Sia Kolisi, lifting the trophy, leading the Springboks. And, I think, like I said, we give the guy hell a lot. Is he really a good captain? It was just a historical moment for Springbok rugby, not just winning the Rugby World Cup, but winning it in the way that they did. This was a team that 2 years earlier, I talk about as my first game, gets completely demoralized in New Zealand during the Rugby Championship. We're thinking like, Katsia, this is the lowest we're ever going to be. Rassie comes in, sends him to a game in DC with a somewhat of a team just to make a little bit of coin to pump back into SA Rugby. And it was the culture that Rassie brought into the club, as we've seen on a lot of these documentary series that have come out, that he built into this team. And they bought into what he was selling them, and we saw the result at the end of the day. Now, going into this weekend, obviously, we will have Rassie back. He's on the tour. He's doing the thing. He had to sit out his little suspension for cuck, basically. Cuck is what it was. But, we just think about where we were at. I'm really taken back to a gentleman that passed away in the last bit, G-Man, Gerreth Mason. A huge influence on why I started doing this, letting me know that, hey, your voice, people are going to want to hear it when it comes to talking about this team. And, his unfortunate passing, and it just, you can go back and find the video of him. He was absolutely pissed. We call it 3 sheets to the wind here. The guy was drunk as hell, but he was so happy, and I know that he embodied the feeling of millions of South Africans in South Africa at the time and how they felt at that moment. How great it felt for all the shit that's going on in your country and still continues to go on. For that moment, you got to smile and say, damn, we're the best in the world. It's not, we may not have the best power system or police or government, but you know what? In that moment, we were the best. The Springboks were the best in the entire world at this game. And, you look at the history of how the Springbok was not even allowed to participate in the first 2 Rugby World Cups. And, the first one they participate in, they win it. Francois Pienaar holding the trophy high. Even with all the controversy around that, the All Blacks claiming that they were drugged, there was food poisoning, all kinds of things, they still won. You know, Joel Stransky, those guys are still legends in the game. You know, we look at those guys as they're the elder statesmen that kind of laid the foundation for what happened 15 years later in 2007. You know, Osterrandt, all those guys that won it in 2007, Baki Sputa, those guys that I talk about in that 07 Cup that won it 15 years later, and then 15 years later, they win it again on that same foundation of just strong work ethic and being like, hey, we're from South Africa. Nothing comes easy for us, so we're going to give you every single bit of what we have, and all the anger and all the frustration that comes with being South African. They let it all out on the pitch that day, you know, and Owen Farrell and Manu Tuolagi and all those guys, they just happen to be the victims this time around. Now, hopefully we don't have to wait another 15 years for this, because I'm looking at it right now it'll be here in 15 years. It'll be in the United States in 15 years. But please don't make me wait that long. Win that one too, guys. I want to see you guys win it here in the U.S., because you're going to see this gray old man screaming his guts off at that final. It's going to happen, guys. I'm going to take the time off. I'm going to go to every pool game when the Rugby World Cup is here. I'm going to go to every single Springbok pool game there is. I'll fly. I'll do whatever I have to do, because, you know, I'm going to be there in person. And Rassie, my man, come over here and do... We'll give you that same coin we give the All Blacks, man. Send the boys over here to play some friendlies against the USA Eagles, man. I would love to be there in attendance, man. Of course, I will be there in attendance. But I just wanted to do this video more than anything just to kind of like look back and think about like, hey, man, 3 years ago, I didn't even think I was going to be doing this. 3 years ago, we didn't know what a pandemic was. Well, we knew what it was, but we didn't know what a global pandemic was going to be like. 3 years ago, we didn't know a lot. And 3 years later, here we are, guys. We made it through. We made it through the hell that was COVID. Regardless of how you felt about it, it was cuck, it sucked. Things were probably not done right the whole time, but we made it through, guys. We made it through COVID. And here we are, 3 years later, Springboks having an opportunity in the next couple of weeks to reclaim their place, their rightful place at the top of the mountain. Going in this weekend, playing Ireland, we're one spot behind them in the rankings. We have a chance to move up those rankings and reclaim our rightful spot at the top. Regardless of what happens, it's going to be a great weekend of international rugby, whether you're a Springbok supporter, Wallaby supporter, All Black supporter, Puma supporter, any of the Six Nations teams. It's a great weekend. We've got autumn internationals. Guys are ready. Everybody's been playing. Everybody's gotten playing time. Everybody should be fit. We've got some interesting changes to the Springboks roster. We'll do that on the preview video. But dude, it's been a crazy 3 years, and let's not ever forget how it made us feel at the end of that game to see Sia and the boys lifting that trophy up and the fireworks going off and the excitement that we felt, and then the awkwardness of seeing Faf de Klerk in that Speedo. That has sold out, still almost entirely hard to get. Budgies, as my friends in Australia and New Zealand would say, those budgies that those guys wore. I don't own one. I have regular South Africa flag swim trunks because I don't look good in a Speedo because I don't have the body for it. But I hope everyone's doing all right, doing great. I'll see you guys in a couple of days with these preview videos for the games that I'll be going live with this weekend. Cheers, guys.